So just to introduce myself before we get going, I'm Louise and I'm Head of Sales at ProspectSoft. And today I'll be taking you through the problem tracker configuration. So I just have a couple of slides to start, and then we'll get straight into the demo and start the configuring of the problem tracker. So today we're going to have a look at a couple of things in terms of the problem configuration. So problem tracker obviously allows you to create tickets for after sales queries. So the first thing we'll look at is configuring problem pipelines, mapping out various pipelines to suit your needs, the different workflows and predetermined statuses of those pipelines. We'll take a look at customizing the layout, building the perfect record for your team, recording the information you require, understanding different problem types that you can set up and classify the issues that you might be handling, understanding the source of where your problems are being logged from. We'll analyse common problems, so we'll start looking at the report side of this as well, and using Report Builder to analyse common issues and any kind of streamline, how to streamline and improve your business processes through the reporting and problem tracker. So let's get straight into it. I'm just going to switch my screen and start showing you how to configure these pipelines. So hopefully you can all see that, and you can see that I'm on a contact record within Prospect CRM. So typically problems are logged under contacts, as you tend to be speaking to a specific person when handling these after sales queries. However, they can actually be logged under a company or an opportunity as well. So just for this demo purpose, I'm in a fictitious company called That's My Jam, and I'm using one of the contacts within there called Michelle Jury. And I'm just going to create a ticket under Michelle Jury from the list at the top. And you can see here we've got our new problem creation screen. So you can see there are lots of fields that can be configured and drop downs on this screen to start building up your problems. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the problem pipelines and how to set those up, which you can see just down here. So you can have multiple pipelines for different problem types, and depending on the workflows that you take to resolve each of those types. So for the problem pipelines, we're going to just jump over to the settings menu, and it's worth noting that to do any of this, you do need to be an admin user. So in order to access the settings menus and do this configuration, you do need to make sure that your user is set up to be admin. So in the settings section, we're going to go to system settings. And there's an option down the menu side here, which is service. In there, you've got all the configuration options for your problem tickets or your problem records. And one of those is the problem pipelines. So we're just going to click here to configure a new pipeline. In the list, you can see that we've already got some pipelines already set up. And you can edit these at any point if you require. So just by going to the pencil, you can see that this opens up the edit view for each of your pipelines that you've already created. So today I'm just going to show you how you can actually add a new delivery pipeline or a pipeline and how we can configure that. So for the example today, I'm going to take a delivery issue and I'm going to click the plus button at the top here to add a new pipeline. And as I mentioned, just for the example, I'm going to create a delivery issue pipeline. So we're going to put the name in and we're going to click create. Once that's been created and you have that in your list, you can then go to the edit section where you can start adding your statuses, or indeed all the statuses that make up your workflow for this pipeline. So you can see here you can obsolete these as well. If you decide that you want to change it or make a new one, you can obsolete it so it doesn't then appear in the options or pipeline drop down in your problem creation. So to add the statuses, or what we are going to be using as the workflow, we've got the statuses here, and this is kind of your action statuses, and we've got your closing statuses at the bottom. So if I click the plus button firstly on the status option, you can see that we've already got some that have been predetermined and might be being used in other pipelines, which we can also use. So I can put a new issue, waiting and working on. If you want to add a new workflow or status to put into your pipeline, you've got this option down the bottom here to manage list, which I can click on, and that will open up a secondary window for configuring your problem statuses. So you've got all of the problem statuses in here already. and you can click to add a new one. So I'm going to click the plus button at the top, and I'm going to set a new status of investigating just to show you how this is done. And I'm going to click create. You can also see here whether it's neutral, positive, or a negative outcome. And that allows you, so for instance, you might have a neutral, which is for your closed status of not being able to progress. So neutral means that it wasn't your fault or the customer's fault. It was a neutral close. Nothing could be done to progress it. Maybe the customer didn't come back to you. You then have the example of a negative, which could be a closed negative or unable to resolve. And you can also have positive as well, which means it was closed and the positive outcome was it was resolved. So that just helps you with reporting later on and being able to analyse the different types of status and whether they are neutral, positive or negative outcomes. So you can add all of this in here, and you can edit each of your statuses to add the status outcome again via the edit button, and you've got these options in here. You can also say whether it's a closed state as well. So obviously some of your statuses will be the end of that workflow and will be the option for you to be able to actually close that off, hopefully as resolved, but also obviously can be an unresolved issue. And there you can also see you've got the status outcome and the ability to actually obsolete that as well if you don't want to use a status going forward and have that showing in the list. You can also add on each of these statuses. So if I show you down here, you've got the ability to add a status detail. This will allow for more detailed analysis at each stage with further details about the current situations. So for instance, for a closed status, you might have two status details. The first one being assume successful. So you might have successfully closed a problem, contacted the customer and told them that, but they may not have come back to you to confirm it's actually been resolved. And obviously you don't want to keep these problems open, and you can only do so much chasing to a customer. So assume successful can be one of your closed detail statuses. You also then probably will have another one, which is confirmed successful, where the customer has actually come back and confirmed that their ticket has been resolved, and you can close that off successfully. So it just gives you a greater scope to add some further detail to these workflow stages and statuses. So if we come back to our pipeline creation that we were working on, so our delivery issue, now we've added all the statuses for our pipeline and the workflow, we can go ahead and add those to the pipeline. So just by clicking the add, I'm going to pick the ones that are, so the close is going to go in the next section. So I'm going to pick the statuses that I want in my workflow to help me resolve my delivery issue. I'm going to click update, and then I'm going to do the same with the closing statuses. There we've got our close there. And I'm going to add that as our closed status, which just ensures that that takes out of reports and that are active problems and puts it in closed reports and stuff like that. So we can quite clearly see when an issue has been closed off and resolved, hopefully. So we've completed our delivery pipeline and we've added our statuses. So I'm going to close that down and go back to our creation screen. And we can see here, we can now select that delivery issue pipeline. And that will set the first status of working on and the workflow that we set out on our pipeline. You can also have the status detail for the new issue, which is referred to supplier or working on with us. So at this stage, I'm going to say it's working on with us. So again, that just gives you some more detailed information about what stage of the workflow and that pipeline you're at. And now we can take a look at the second drop down we've got here, which is this problem type. So you can have different problem types, and depending on kind of what issues you might be looking at with your customers, and you can manage multiple problem types through this drop down. So you see we've got some here already, and I'm just going to go and show you how to add a new problem type again through the services menu, the settings menu, sorry. So in settings, we're going to go back to service, go to the problem types, which if I scroll down is just here. And you can see there's two different options. We've got simple and advanced. So I'll show you the simple first, but I will also touch on the advanced, which just gives you a bit of a matrix to kind of add some further details and further drop downs to that problem creation screen. So if I just click on simple to start off with and click to configure, you can see again, we've got some already preset problem types in here already. And I'm just going to click to configure a new problem type in this simple structure. So I'm going to click the plus button, and I'm going to continue with our example of delivery issue. So I'm going to give it a title of delivery issue. So that's our problem type. You can also then link your problem types of different pipelines. As I said, you might have a different workflow for each different problem type that you have in order to get to the resolution for that problem. So for the delivery issue problem type, I'm going to select, obviously, our delivery issue pipeline that we have just created. And I'm going to click create on that. And now you can see that we've got our new delivery issue, which is linked to our default pipeline description of delivery issue. You can go and edit this as you want to, again, with the pencil. You can change to choose the default pipeline. And again, you can choose to obsolete this if it's no longer of use. So just coming back to our settings menu, as I mentioned, we do have this advanced option. So this basically, if I click on that and click to configure, gives you a lot more scope and a lot more, gives you a lot more levels, and it will create multiple types and analysis drop downs for you when you're creating a problem. And these can all be linked to determine that they basically can all be linked. So if you click on a particular problem type 1, it can then determine the options that you'll get in the drop downs for problem type 2, analysis 1, etc., etc. So for instance, if I show you how you can create this, we go to click to add, and I can set the first problem type as delivery issue. My second problem type then might be, if I click to configure here, I might have a problem type of who caused that delivery issue. So I can go and configure this, click add, and I can add a second problem type of cause. And I can add the cause being the keying error. So it could be someone keying an issue from their keying an order into the system. And I can have multiple types. So one could be picking error. So that could be the warehouse caused the issue by a picking error in the warehouse. And I might have a third one, which is courier related. So they might have delivered to the wrong address, or they're missing a box because the courier only delivered 2 out of 3 parcels. So I can set that as my cause, the cause of keying error. And then the third one might be something along the lines of the actual courier itself. So I might have the courier names in there that I use. So Hermes, DHL, Royal Mail. So you can start building up a more of a configured list to be able to get into more specific detail about the typical issues that you're logging, and not only give you enough information to go and resolve that, it also gives you a lot more power to do reporting and finding out, we've got 20 delivery issues that were caused this month. They were caused by courier issues, and the courier that's causing the most of those issues is typically Hermes, which I can say from experience. It probably is Hermes. So you can start building up detailed reports on what's causing issues and put things in place to kind of resolve those. You then also got the analysis side as well. So if, for instance, we select a particular type, you can then start building up further drop downs of analysis as well. So you might have an analysis type of the resolution for the particular issue that we're dealing with. So the analysis problem 1 could be the resolution, as I mentioned, and that could be a drop down which shows credit, FIC items, or redirect or redelivery. So you can, again, start building up not only the type of problems that you're logging and make that as complex as you want with this matrix, but you can also then start doing some analysis on the resolution and the steps you'll take to resolve it. So it's completely up to you how involved you get. As I said, you can use the simple problem types, which only has 1 level, or you can go more advanced and use the matrix and start building up a more specific workflow of drop downs to enable you to get as much information on the tickets that you're logging. So just for the demo purpose, I am going to go back and I'm going to select the simple option on here, and we've already configured those. So we're going to go back to our problem creation screen. So on here now, I can select my problem type of delivery issue, which will automatically set my delivery pipeline issue and set the first status of working on. We can also track the source of a problem, so the channels that these are being logged by. And if I click on the drop down, we've got some 3 options already pre-configured, so email, telephone and website. You might have a 4th one, which is maybe an online login portal, which some of our customers do have. And to configure this, again, you can go back to the settings menu, system settings, which we've been in for most of the demos so far. But if you're an admin user, you will find on each of these drop downs, you do have a configure option right at the bottom here. So if I wanted to go and add a source in, I can go and click configure, and I can take me straight to the problem settings menu, and I can go and add a new one in of portal. Again, I can click create, and that will add that to my sources list. With the edit option again at the side, where I can go and obsolete if I decide, or if I get rid of my portal, for instance, I might want to then go and obsolete that channel of logging a ticket with us. So if I close that down, I can go back to my source and I can select the correct option from this drop down. Again, just lends itself to the reporting afterwards. You might want to monitor what channels most tickets are being logged by, and just make sure you've got the right resources to back that up. So I'm going to select that this one was an email source. So now we've filled in and configured all of our options. We can give it a description. So this is missing parcel. And I can create this particular ticket under Michelle Jury to start working on getting this to a resolution. So straight away at the top, you can see what stage of the pipeline we're in. So we've got working on straight through to closed, and hopefully, obviously, that being a successful close. So straight away, when you come into the records, you can see exactly the stage that problem is in, based on the configuration of the pipelines and the workflows that we've just done. You can see the status that it's currently in, as I said, and you can go through and change this. So as you start working on this ticket, you can go through and start managing which stage you're at and working through to that resolution. So I can change the status via this drop down, and you'll see that change at the top as well. Again, if you've got status details, you can also set them from a secondary drop down, and maybe you're waiting on this bit for some customer information before you can go forward. You can add activities and correspondence and log all your notes for the ticket within the system as well. So if a customer rings up and wants to know what's happening with their ticket because they haven't heard back in a couple of days, instead of chasing around and finding someone who knows what's going on, you can come straight in here and see the last note that was added and what the current situation is. So waiting on X, Y, and Z. So you can quite quickly tell the customer what you're waiting on to progress this. Again, you can set these as tasks and reminders as well. So if you have somebody that's dealing with your after sales support and these tickets, you can log those. You can actually set a task for them to pick them up and go through and complete that workflow. So I can set the user, the date. I can also set the activity type, and I can click and save that. And you'll see here that that has then started building up this activity feed, so you can see exactly what's been going on with this particular ticket. We've also got the categorizations, the type and delivery. We've got delivery issue, and we've got the analysis, which is a secondary drop down, which you can configure for your delivery issue. So again, you can configure this, and it could be the cause. So as I said, keying error, warehouse picking error, or indeed courier issue or delivery issue. Okay. You can also go into the section here. So we've got some additional fields, so customer reference and supplier reference. You do have the ability to actually customize this screen. So you can rename and repurpose some of these fields, such as supplier reference or customer reference, if you want to use it for something more specific to you and the problems that you're logging. You can just go into the customize field. You can rename these. You can even move around the different blocks that we've got on the screen, so it makes it more relevant to you. So I've just moved that status right up to the top there. Equally, you can move that down and so on. You can also add custom fields as well. So if you wanted to maybe capture a consignment number, so if it's this courier delivery issue that we've got and it's caused by the courier, you might want to add that consignment number in, so you've got that information on the ticket as well. And you can add that as a field at the bottom, or you can actually add that as a new page down the side here if it's more relevant to do so. So I'm just going to add a new custom field to this record, and I'm going to go and click show more. and scroll down to custom fields and add custom field. And you can have a text, number, date, etc. So you can add multiple different types of custom fields relevant to whatever your problem types are. For the consignment number, obviously, I'm going to add a number field, and I'm going to put in consignment number as the title of that field. And I've created that new consignment number, which I can then select to add to my problem details section. So I've ticked that to add it, and you can see that's now a field on the problem details. I can preview that, which you can see here. I've now got my consignment number field, and I can save those changes. And that gives us our new consignment number field, which I've just added really quickly to this record. You've also got a summary here, so if you wanted to put some blurb in about what the particular issue is, you can say missing 1 box of 3, and you can even put the items in there that you've been missing as well. You can also, if you're creating a free of charge order to replace those items that have been missing, you can also create a quote and an order underneath the problem, and you can do that as a free of charge order just to make sure that you are removing the stock from your warehouse if you are creating and sending out free of charge items to resolve these tickets. So hopefully we can then take that problem through to the resolution, and we can move that on to our close status. And we can say that has been successfully resolved, hopefully. So if I just jump back to the PowerPoint quickly. We can now take a look at the reporting section for this webinar. So we have lots of standard reports within the system, but basically reporting your problems and will allow you to help identify common types of problems that you've got and put things in place to kind of resolve those and make sure that you're doing the right things for your customers. So if you've got a lot of courier delivery issues, you might want to think about getting a new courier, for instance. But you can manage your problems from one central location. So all of your customer correspondence are then managed in the CRM along with your pre-sales. The problem tracker allows you to manage your after-sales side as well. As I mentioned, you can identify areas for improvement. You have the ability to group, summarize, and break down your problems, which we'll take a look at in a second. You can add flexible dates to suit reporting needs, so you can look at particular problems that were logged in a particular time frame, or indeed closed in a particular time frame, or that remain open for a long period of time. There's lots of filters to break down this data and delve into it a little bit further, which we'll take a look at. And I'll just jump back now and share my screen again on the CRM so we can take you through some of those reporting abilities. So if I just jump back to the dashboard. The problems are summarised on each of our dashboard options. So you've got a drop down of dashboards here, but enabled you to have a kind of a snapshot of what's going on with your customer base. We do have a problem section on the account management dashboard, which just gives you an overview of your problems that you've logged for your customers. But we do, if we go to the navigation menu on the side, we have a services section, which has a reports section within that. And we have lots of standard reports that we've already kind of pre-created that we think might be useful in this particular scenario. So things like all open problems, all problems whether they're open or closed, new problems logged, open problems by status, and problems open for too long. So we've got quite a lot of scope there already for you to start using this and getting some good analysis out of the problems that you're logging. But if we just jump into one of these problem reports, so if we go into the all open problems, you can see here that we've got lots of data in here already, and it's filtered to all the problems that have an open status. But you can then start kind of filtering this data and delving into it a little bit further to meet your needs. And you can do that via the little menu at the top here, and you can choose different filters. So you might want to see all the problems that were all the open problems that were created in a particular date range. So I'm going to select the problem filter of created. And then from there, if I click continue, I can go and say, show me all the problems that were created in the last 10 months. I'm just going to do 10 months because obviously we've got some demo data and it's not a lot in there. So all the problems that were created in the last 10 months, and you can see how you can start filtering that data and delving into it further. You can also add and select different fields as well. So if you wanted to see some more data within this report, I can go to select fields and I can choose from here any other data from the problem records, company or contact records as well. So I'm just going to say that I want to see the pipeline description on this report as well. And I'm just going to move that up to just after the type 1 of problem. And now you can see here lots of delivery issues. You can see the problem pipeline is now in there, so you can also start looking at all the different problem types that you've got and what pipeline they're in. And you can also filter down by problem type, pipeline, and so on as well. Especially if you're using the advanced matrix, again, you can see how you can start filtering that down further and getting really good analysis from these reports. So whilst we have lots of standard reports in here that you can change the filters and fields on, and you can resave them and make your own copies, and you can favorite them as well, we do also have our report builder ability within the system where you can actually go and create your own problem reports. So just by clicking on that, you can choose the problem type as your entity that you want to start reporting on. And from there, you can actually go and create your own reports for the problem tickets that you're logging, and being able to gain more information, more relevant to you, that our standard reports may not have covered. So I hope that's a kind of a good overview on the configuration of Problem Tracker. I'm just going to open up the floor now just for a few questions. If anybody has any, just drop them in the box. I'll give you a minute just to do that, and I'll answer those before we conclude for today. Okay, great. So thank you. I've got a couple of questions coming in. So the first one that I've got is, what do customers typically use Problem Tracker for? Which is a really great question, actually. Obviously, you can see with the configuration, it can actually wear a lot of hats. So with the ability to be able to create the pipelines and using the type drop down to set lots of different options in there, as I said, it can wear a lot of hats. So a lot of our customers will have a warranty or repair side of their business, which they will use the Problem Tracker for. So being able to manage the warranty repairs, chargeable repairs. As we went through in the demo, quite a lot of people use it for delivery issues and just general customer complaints. We do have some customers that use it for maybe a project management side of their business. So if they've got, if they sell standard products that then maybe some of them need to be installed, they can use that Problem Tracker for the installations of and project management of that. We've got, you can use it for general queries, so or accounts payments and payment chasing. So essentially, it just encompasses all general after sales as a whole, really. So any kind of after sales queries that your customers have got, whatever that might be, you can set that up as a type and use the Problem Tracker to actually report on that. And I think we've got time for just one more question. Another great question. We have returns numbers which we give to our customers. Is this still possible? So yes, actually it is. So if I just go back to a problem, I can show you that. And so if I just open one of the problem records that have been preset, or you can see it here actually, each of the problem records or problem tickets that you create within Prospect CRM will be given its own unique number. And that is, for every single ticket that you log, regardless of what type, it will all have its own unique number. And that number can actually be used within our search. So if you give that to a customer and they quote that back to you to find out what's going on with that particular ticket, you can search that in our search everything at the top here, and you will find that particular problem. If I just turn that on in the filters, you will find that particular ticket there through that search, and I can open that up straight away. And on each ticket, it is quite identifiable at the top, that unique number. You can actually also, if you're creating return material authorization documents, so with our Problem Tracker, you can also create standard documents that might be checklists or indeed return material authorizations or RMAs. And we can merge that unique number onto those documents or emails as well. So you can always reference that back with the customer and make sure that you can identify these tickets by that unique number. So yeah, great. Thank you for those questions. If there are any other questions that you do have that you think of after this, then please get in touch with the team. We'll be happy to help. You can do that via online chat, email, or telephone, and we can answer those for you. So just to finish off, if we just a reminder about our next sessions that we've got. So we've got a whole webinar series at the moment, so don't forget to join the rest of those if you haven't already. And the next one that we've got coming up is managing communications with customers. So I hope you enjoyed today and learned some stuff about being able to configure your problem tracker within Prospect CRM. Thanks again for joining and have a great afternoon.